Welcome to Honestly Mistaken. In this video presentation, I have the honor to cover a common question I get from individuals of faith. What if you're wrong? My philosophical rebuttal will scrutinize upon the following. What will I do if I find myself standing before the Christian God specifically? What will my emotions entail, and what questions I would ask God? Let's jump right into it. It's an unfortunate, inevitable endeavor that among one of these abundant days of life, our lifespan will be extinguished. Many theological theories from generations of civilizations have been concocted as the pave a premise of what will ultimately happen after our expiration date. The most prevailing of the category will certainly be the Judgment Day correspondence. The integral assembly by the alleged intelligent designer of all things, and the designed, will be underway. What if I were in this situation, you ask? Firstly, let me illustrate the characteristic properties of the Christian deity. 1. Benevolence. By definition, benevolence is the desire to do good to others, goodwill, charitableness, well-being, and the utmost benefactor of compassion. 2. Omnipotent. By definition, omnipotent is almighty or infinite in power. 3. Omniscience. By definition, omniscience is having complete or unlimited knowledge, cognizance, or understanding perceiving all things. The last attribute strikes me as intriguing, because without a shadow of a doubt, this being would understand me down to my very foundation, circumstance, and representation. This supreme being would know with foresight and presupposed cognizance my accumulative historical circumstances, which eventually bestowed my given worldview, causal personal attributes, and perception of reality. If anyone would understand my absolute exclusivity, my preceding events, experiences, and entire product of historical narrative, it would be this being. He will understand all my education, physical phenomenon, inquisitive thinking, and all inspiration of the world around me came from having a desired interest in theological virtue and humanistic discipline. Because of my interest in educating myself on my own, instead of becoming a mindless drone automaton feeding off of societal indoctrination, developmentally contributed an accumulation of astonishment. It will be comprehended that I discovered the inconsistency of this being's behavior within the Gospels to be absolutely contradictory to his alleged benevolence. Speaking of the Gospels, God would know how incredibly embarrassing it was for me to read some of the terrifying horror stories, the barbarous killings, genocide, and animal sacrifices condoned by him and his followers. When it comes to truth claims, he would know I critiqued said claims and compared them to the attributes attributed to him. With all of the sincerity I can muster, I made it my primary responsibility to believe assertions claiming truth as a consequence of reason and evidence. God would know that exclusive faith was considered inadequate and illogical in terms of justifying an assertion, considering all other faiths to the contrary. He would know that the burden of satisfactory belief will be that he provided insufficient reason to justify belief, which left me at the neutral position. He would know I wasn't angry, insubordinate, or rebellious towards any exclusive absolute claims of Christianity, and will understand that I employed logic and reasoning to ascertain a belief. He would know that the human race found concise naturalistic evolutionary explanations that are predictable, testable, and verifiable via microscopic DNA inference. He would know that we found common ancestors aligned with every species on the planet, corroborated and widely held within the scientific community by his hand or natural selection. We measured the constant rate at which the galaxies in our universe are expanding after being closer together, which calculates our universe to almost 14 billion years. We discovered radioactive dating methods, which precisely measures the age of our planet to almost 5 billion years old, which contradicts the young Earth hypothesis of 6,000 years. The first question I will ask is, which God are you? Are you Zeus, Thor, Poseidon, Yahweh, or Allah? Why did you put up this awe-inspiring naturalistic smokescreen and will be absolutely shocked if he wasn't proud of how far his creations came intellectually. When I consider his attribute of benevolence, it's difficult to imagine that God would be displeased with the conclusions I made. Even if my eternal well-being was hanging in the balance, I would ask simply, why was he inefficient in providing ample evidence of his existence? Why did he supply an inefficient holy text to be written by illiterate primitive desert men, all of which are anonymous authors? Why are there countless inerrant contradictions scattered among the Gospels, and how easily misinterpreted the translation can be? I would ask, why did he continue with the design that he knew with foreknowledge wouldn't succeed, which will lead to the consequence of eternal damnation of billions of souls? Assuming Christianity is the correct religion, there are people who were naturally born in an incorrect culture, family, or geological location, and ultimately acquired the wrong theology, thus missing the revelation. Would they be spared? Eternal damnation isn't a form of salvation or justice. Due to its eternal nature, it seems like a form of retaliation for not employing the ultimate salvation criteria, which is gullibility. I found it insufficient that regardless of how my actions were in my life, I would be doomed if I didn't assume there was an intelligent designer. However, psychopathic serial killers, pedophiles, and terrorists can enter into the kingdom of heaven as long as they accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. I couldn't honestly live with myself in a blissful paradise, consciously knowing others aren't as fortunate. I also couldn't stand to reside in heaven knowing our Savior's ideologies of redemption were unfair, immoral, and unacceptable by all standards of justice. In conclusion, it's absurd that individuals within politics can openly reject evolution and all of our verified biological knowledge without risking their chance to be elected officials. However, if they disbelieve primitive theology from ancient civilizations, their stature is immediately subtracted and are considered an unworthy candidate. If an individual has an infatuation concerning Tupac or Elvis still being alive, the world still being flat, or the moon being a light source, it would be wise to assume the person is suffering from a severe delusion. If an adult man believes in Santa Claus, not as a means to formulate good behavior in his children, but rather serious inquiry, you say he was a complete and utter nutbar, and probably admit him into a psychiatric ward. Racism used to be widely accepted in the 60s as a means to conduct society. However, we clearly see how racism is synonymous to discrimination, prejudice, and severe mental illness. This is precisely the point I'm trying to make. It's difficult to take anyone seriously if they believe outlandish claims, and it's a matter of time before supernatural ideologies will fall into the same category. Human intelligence evolves as we learn from trial and error, and we can see how intrinsically valuable our moral values currently are. Given a good amount of time, I think our current top-tier religious claims will be relegated to mythology like all other deities ever conceived by our ancestors. Do you find it a coincidence that you are following your parents' religion and their ancestors? Do you find it a little coincidental that you follow the religion dominated by your civilization and to which you were born? Why, with all the faiths scattered around the globe, did you choose the one closest in proximity? Do you find it coincidental that you are a Christian because you live in America and not Islam? Or a Muslim because you were born in Islam, not America? Do you think you still would be a Christian should you be born in Japan and not a Buddhist? We believe what we were told by people of authority, such as our parents, society, or culture, and are never concerned about questioning their position. You hold your faith steadfast in the midst of all the other religions in which you blatantly perceive false. All the members of other faiths hold the exact same steadfast dedication as you do, who also deems yours false. Out of all the considered afterlives from all religions, which hell would I reside in for not having faith in a supernatural deity? I often hear, what if you're wrong? The real question is, what if you are wrong? I'm better off betting on no God being the correct one rather than believing in one and be wrong. The point I'm trying to make is that we are all atheists to all the other religions the world over minus ours. Once you see how easy it is to dismiss their gods or goddesses, you will see how easy it was for me to dismiss yours. I've managed to take it one God further. Thanks for watching Honestly Mistaken. Please leave a comment if you have any concerns about my point of view. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please subscribe to my channel and have a look at my previous presentations.